Hello and welcome to KYC, a brand new show at NDTV Profit. In the fast-paced world of stock markets, investors are bombarded with information, but what they often lack is deep, comprehensive understanding of the companies that they invest in. Know Your Company is a show designed to give you regular investors powerful, actionable insights into fundamentals of a single NSE-listed company every single day. And right at the top, we start this edition of Know Your Company with AstraZeneca. Now, the reason we wanted to talk about AstraZeneca is there's not much known about this pharmaceutical space, the company, and while we have been talking about the pharma space, there is not as much information about AstraZeneca India as much as there is about several other of its peers. So I thought that would be a great way to start this show. And along with that, let's actually take a look at what the company does. Sure, of course it is a pharmaceutical major, but it's also the Indian arm of global major AstraZeneca. Well, moving on, of course, established in India in 1979 and headquartered in Bengaluru, Karnataka. What it actually does is not only does it manufacture, but it also distributes the pharmaceutical companies which it produces. And the company has about 800 odd employees in India. And to give you an idea about the overall revenue breakup, because that would give you a clear picture about how things are panning out here. Well, a majority of its revenues come from oncology, and that's cardiovascular, that's followed, and that's roughly about 85% of its revenues is followed by diabetes and respiratory. So you can clearly see that it is cancer drugs, and to a certain extent, well, cardiovascular drugs is what's driving the company. But we do need to take a look at how things are faring as far as this financial performance is concerned. And for that, I'm going to bring in my colleague Vishal Manchanda to also help us through this process. So, what we're going to do is, or rather, what we are doing is, firstly, we will talk about its various financial parameters, and we will rate this company on several of these financial parameters. Once we're done with that, we'll also give you a SWOT analysis of all kinds to give you an idea about not only strengths and weaknesses, but also opportunities and threats. That will, of course, be followed by, well, a conversation with an analyst, not only on the company, but in the sector as well. And this will, of course, be followed by a management conversation. But Varsha, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining in. Why don't I start off with the income statement right at the top. So, at least as far as the revenues are concerned, it's had a pretty stealthy growth. And in fact, over the last 3 odd years, it's shown you about a 17% CAGR when it comes to revenue. Again, when it comes to EBITDA, we've seen significant growth there as well. Profitability as well, looking at near 11 to 15% CAGR. And its EBITDA margin standing at around 14%. But moving on, Varsha, how are the balance sheet numbers looking here?
Well, Agam, first of all, thank you for that. So pretty good balance sheet. Pretty good balance sheet. So we are talking about almost negligible debt over here. So zero net debt company, healthy cash reserves. Yeah. So as of September 24, if you see the shareholder equity stands at around 679 crores with cash balance of 500 crores. So normally, Agam, the company which has a MNC parent, they don't like much of debt, but they want to sit on the cash reserves, which is what we are seeing in this company as well.
Right. And to talk about the return ratios as well, now Varsha's mentioned how cash reserves have panned out, and of course we've also seen the kind of EBITDA that we've seen. But let's talk about your return ratio. So when it comes to your return on equity, that stands at a healthy 24%. Now anything over the mark of 20%, well, it's considered to be a positive. It's the same for return on capital employed as well. That comes in at around 27% as well. So a reasonable positive scenario there. But what's next on our radar in terms of how the stock performance is done, Varsha?
So first, I would actually talk about the shareholding pattern that this company has, Agam. So if you see, now why I am stretching out on this metric is 75% of the shareholding is with the parent company. Now, one of the good thing about this is that investors like when the promoter has skin in the game. So 75% that we are speaking about here. And when it comes to, for FII stake, so it's all about 2% which FII stake has, again, a pretty good number. That's not bad. Followed by domestic institutional shareholders, which has almost 5% stake in the company. And if you see, Agam, the public shareholder is what? Is around 17%. So skin in the game, which investors like. And normally, Agam, again, the second point here is when you have MNC as a parent, normally they keep much of shareholding, stake towards them. So this is what we are seeing in AstraZeneca as well.
Right, and I would actually certainly give them that one bit on further notch because, because if it's a closer holding, it does mean that there's a lesser free float, and to a certain extent that keeps the all the manipulators away by that much amount. But if you consider the way things have panned out over the last 5 years, it's given you a return of around 30% CAGR in terms of price action. It's clearly beaten a lot of these broader market indices. But have the dividends been just as good, Varsha?
No, Agam, actually it's not. So if you see the dividend yield, it's been what, 0.35%. Now this is a thumbs down in one perspective, but I need to stretch upon here because the companies which are growing at 17 to 18% CAGR, they don't normally give dividend to their shareholders. They rather want to keep themselves cash and then reinvest those money into the business. That's what AstraZeneca is actually doing, and they're going to spend almost 250 crores when it comes to expansion, when it comes to their Chennai center. So though dividend yield is not good, but we have to consider that in the last 3 years, company has been growing at 17 to 18% CAGR. Now, if company will give dividend to its shareholders, how will the company grow? But on the face, yes, the dividend yield is like not much. It's like 0.35%.
Right. And, the other thing that stands out here, Varsha, is, as I've mentioned right at the top of the show as well, the company doesn't have a lot of analyst coverage. We are looking at the wiring agencies, and we actually have very little in terms of how many analysts do in fact go ahead and cover AstraZeneca. This is despite the fact that it's shown you that kind of growth in terms of your top line, your bottom line. It's not a small company. It has a market capital around 16,000, 17,000 odd crores, and yet you don't have too much interest from the street. And one of the many reasons in this case is that if you actually go on the exchanges, you won't find any investor presentations, or you won't find much in terms of consistency in your conference calls either. So that's something to bear in mind. But overall, that is what we're seeing with respect to your financial performance. And based on that, considering the 7 parameters that we considered for AstraZeneca, well, it scored about 5 out of 7. So certainly very good income statement, certainly very strong balance sheet, good cash reserves too. But what they are lacking in is dividend. And maybe I'll just give them a half a point and not completely take a point away, because as Varsha mentioned, that they are investing a lot in growth. But the minimal coverage on the stock could potentially be a little bit of a dampener here. With that, let's move on and talk about a handful of strengths and weaknesses. And well, that's where perhaps we can get a little bit more understanding on how the company is doing. So I'm going to start off by talking about the strengths and weaknesses. Let's start off with the strengths first up. And well, we do know that it's one of the leaders in cancer care. As I mentioned, about nearly two-thirds of its revenues coming in from oncology, and the balance coming in from, a lot of that coming in from cardiovascular. So it certainly is a big one in terms of strength. Even in terms of innovation, it does have an advantage, that the fact that its parent is an American company, because that's where it does see a lot of transfer of technology towards the Indian unit. In terms of weakness, of course, we don't have too much in terms of diversification, but this is only for the lack of too many weaknesses. Sure, it does have a lot of focus in oncology and cardiovascular drugs, but that's not a terrible weakness. But what about opportunities and threats, Varsha?
Yes, so Agam, the main opportunity for this company is like in start, you mentioned that 62% of the business comes from oncology.
Right.
So now we know that the GST rates have been reduced for cancer products for 4 cancer products, which actually AstraZeneca makes or distributes from buying it from parents. So the GST there has reduced from 12% to 5%. The one big thing that AstraZeneca has. The number 2 is, of course, the rising penetration of health insurance that we are seeing. Again, a boost to AstraZeneca. Also, also government has exempted 3 cancer drugs from custom duty. Again, those 3 cancer drugs are actually, manufactured and sold by AstraZeneca India. So, and lastly, if you see the expansion of medical infrastructure that we are seeing will actually benefit all the pharmaceutical companies when it comes, including AstraZeneca. But I would also like to, point out the threat that the company might have. One is the supply chain disruptions and the rising input costs may. This is one of the threat that the company has. Then we all know the imminent threat of price reduction that all the pharmaceutical companies can see. And lastly, if you see the rising US tariffs may actually, affect sales of the company, including AstraZeneca. So yeah, these are the opportunities and threats when it comes to the business.
Some very, very crucial ones at that as well. But on that note, Varsha, thanking you for joining us and taking us through the financial performance as well as the SWOT analysis for the company. But let's take this conversation forward and talk about, if not about the company, then the sector as a whole, with an analyst here. Well, we have Vishal Manchanda. He is a senior VP of institutional research at Systematix Shares and Stocks, who joins us on the show. Vishal, good morning, and thanks so much for taking the time out. Firstly, Vishal, do you by any chance have AstraZeneca under your coverage here?
So no, AstraZeneca is not in our coverage. We track any pharma names more actively than others.
Right.
So we only track them. The only MNC we have in our coverage is Pfizer as of now.
Right. Right, Vishal. So then let's talk about the oncology space, since AstraZeneca is major on this. Your view on the entire sector, and how are you looking at potential opportunities for the Indian pharma sector in this area?
So like, if I look at the IPM, the fastest growing piece within the Indian pharma market is oncology. And AstraZeneca probably aligns well with that. So their largest piece within their domestic portfolio is oncology. As you had kind of displayed this earlier, about 60-65% of the sales for Astra is coming from oncology. And potentially, if we kind of like go down 3 years from now, oncology would become even more dominant within the AstraZeneca portfolio. This should probably be around 80-85% of their sales 3 years down the line.
Okay.
And they probably have the largest portfolio as well in terms of the number of drugs number of diseases that they address with their portfolio.
Vishal, it's interesting that you said that, because I was also curious about what they would do with their cardiovascular portfolio as well. How do you think that could pan out in general overall?
So I don't think they have too many introductions to be done on the cardiovascular or the diabetes side. Most of the introductions they're getting in India are on the oncology side. So I don't think this portfolio is going to kind of grow the way the oncology portfolio is going to shape up. This probably will be like driven by the existing drugs in the portfolio they have. So one of the large drugs on the cardiovascular side with AstraZeneca is a drug called Prelenta that's used for a treatment post myocardial infarctions or probably angina.
Right. Vishal, can you give us the lay of the land for the entire sector in India when it comes to oncology? What kind of exports happen from India, especially from the listed space? How much of, this business is in India, is domestic oriented? Can you give us a better idea about how this could also potentially grow over the course of the next few years?
So oncology is an unmet need in India. What we have currently in oncology is largely the old chemotherapy drugs that are more often used to treat patients because they're more affordable. While if you look at the global landscape of oncology, the treatment landscape is evolving. We are seeing more potent drugs coming in, but since these are very expensive and may not be affordable by most Indian patients, probably we also lack a reimbursement system around oncology. We need a specialized reimbursement system for treating oncology conditions. So all of those things, as these systems evolve, we'll see oncology becoming much larger than what it is today. But primarily, if you look at things on a volume basis, the Indian generic companies dominate the space. But from a growth perspective, the MNC pharmas are dominating the category, the oncology category.
Well, point taken, Vishal, for that. And on that note, also thanking you for joining us in this brief conversation around AstraZeneca. Of course, I know that you don't have this under your coverage, but you have still given us plenty of insight into what potentially could pan out for this particular company going forward. In fact, my colleague Haripriya Haripriya spoke to AstraZeneca and the management of the company, and this is what she had to say. Listen in.
This is a beautiful campus that you have here. Give us some idea about this place. Tell us a little bit about that, and also about the 45-year journey that you've had in this country. For 2024, it's 45 years that you clock in. So how has the journey been so far?
Absolutely great. First of all, let me welcome you to AstraZeneca operations in India. This is a huge factory in which we are here today. But we are, just to start with, we have been a very humble beginning in 1979. And the purpose of us has been to bring innovative medicine and pushing the boundaries of science to make a meaningful difference to our patients across our country. So in the last 45 years, we have grown steadily but also strongly to bringing those innovative medicines to our country. So over the past 45 years, we have two entities now. So let me talk about the first entity, which is AstraZeneca Pharma India Limited, which comprises of a commercial organization, this operations, which is the factory, and a clinical trial organization. And all these three put together, the objective is to push the boundaries of science to bring innovative medicines to our country. The second part is this operations which you see here, and also the clinical trial which we are doing in India to understand local patient unmet need in our country. Then the unlisted part, which is AstraZeneca India Private Limited, is now celebrating 10 years into AstraZeneca in India. And the idea there is to bring innovation and technology, which is very important to bring innovative medicines faster. And that houses R&D, it houses global business services, and a technology center serving not only in India, but across the globe. So put together, we had a very, very strong strengthening footprint for AstraZeneca in India. And with Bangalore and Chennai, our key hubs here, we now house more than 4,000 people across our country. So great journey, and we feel really proud the way we are making a difference to the patients in our country.
Right. Let's get the cliches of the numbers out probably for starters. Tell us about the quarter that went by. We saw there was a rise in revenue, and the profit saw a little bit of a dip. So give us a sense of that, and how should we read into this?
We have been growing, as I said, very strongly. If you see, we have grown our total operations on revenue by 31%, which is a great growth both for the quarter and also the first half, which is quarter ending the September of this year. So we have done upwards of 795 crores as a business, and profit before exceptional items from 93 plus crores. So which is clearly demonstrating that we are bringing innovative medicines faster to India. And our growth is actually coming from oncology. Growth is coming from biopharmaceuticals and our recent introduction for rare disease in our country. So good 31% growth for the quarter and for the first half of the year. And we really proud to see the innovative medicine coming to India, which is helping to drive this growth for the company.
Give us some sense of AstraZeneca's portfolio in India. How does it stand in terms of the patented medicines and the ones under the price control?
So overall, AstraZeneca is globally, and the same in India. We play in 5 therapy areas. So one is oncology, which has cancer drugs. The second is biopharmaceutical. Within that, we have cardiovascular, renal metabolism, and respiratory diseases. And then we have vaccine and immune therapies. And then we have recently introduced rare disease into our country. So now we have all the therapy areas which global has in the country. And for each of these therapy areas, we are bringing the innovative medicines. There's some medicines which are also innovative medicines long back launched in the country, some under our price control, but most of it is towards the patented drugs as of now.
There's this sense that AstraZeneca is moving more into the specialized portfolio now, trying to build more around that itself. So give us a sense of that in terms of what is the outlook and the vision that you see going forward in terms of building the portfolio there.
So again, the purpose of bringing, purpose of pushing the boundaries of science and bringing the medicines and making the meaningful difference. We go where we can make a meaningful difference to patients. We really believe that the huge burden of disease is increasing, and science is the answer to unlock the disease burden in the country. And what we are trying to do is our innovative medicines, which is oncology, which is biopharmaceutical. Within that, we have monoclonal antibodies, we have biologics, which are coming in, we have rare disease. We see a portfolio going towards the specialist disease areas. So what we have taken a strategic strategic drive is to ensure that these innovative medicines, which are high science, and this science needs to be shaped at a specialist level, and which can make the most meaningful difference. We believe specialist organization will help us do there. And the science which is coming globally is not only about the products, but also the platforms, which is like antibody drug conjugates, monoclonal antibodies, cell therapy, and in future radio conjugates. So all of that is helping us to ensure that we are on a path to bring those innovative medicines faster to our country and make the meaningful difference to the patients of this country by being more specialist disease area led organization.
That sounds great, sir. A lot of innovation happening, a lot of thoughts going behind this. Talk to us a little more about the campus, probably. What else can you show us around here? Is there a lab that we could go to and check out?
There is so we have the full campus. As you can see how green it is, and we are ensuring that we keep the sustainability is one of our passions. So both bringing science and sustainability in everything we do. As a sustainable ambition we have is to make carbon zero by 2025 as a company, and also carbon negative by 2030 as an organization. You would, I won't be able to show you, but there's some solar panels across to ensure that we are using the solar energy as much as possible. That side is the lab there, and here is a canteen and the offices that side. But you could see how green the whole campus is, to create an environment for our people to work, but also enjoy the environment and feel good about it. Yeah.
Probably we could get a run of your lab then. Let's
Sure.
go.
Yep.
Probably we could talk about the recent Mankind Pharma collaborations that you did. That was for the anti-asthmatic drug, I believe. So tell us a little bit about that. What have you gained from that synergy? What kind of move was that? How does that help you?
Yeah. So as I said, that we want to push the boundaries of science to deliver life-changing medicines, and that's the purpose of our organization. And we are bringing innovative medicines to our country. But once you bring into the country, we need to ensure that this is accessible to a larger population across the world. So on one side, we are shaping the market for new medicines. Some of our innovative medicines are first time for which there was no treatment, and there's new treatment altogether. At another point of time, we want to ensure that our medicines can get more access across our country. So this was one partnership which we did for one of our molecule, which is for asthma, and this is for ensuring that more people can access our innovative medicines by partnering with a company who has a larger reach and access. So we focus on bringing innovative medicine. At the same time, we also ensure that there's a partner who can help us reach. So this is budesonide formoterol with a simple device which is in both, and it's simple to take by the patient, and there's a better deposition for that. So we believe that we are focusing on innovative medicine, but we're also trying to ensure that there is a good access to our medicine. This partnership is helping us to reach more number of patients by partnering with the Indian company. And Mankind is a great company in terms of their reach, and the number of physicians they cover, and adds a good equity in terms of the doctors for respiratory they are covering. So this is helping us to, again, improve the access for our innovative medicines in our country.
And there you have it. That was Sanjeev Panchal from AstraZeneca India. And with that, it's a wrap on the first edition of KYC, but lots more lined up on the other side. Stay tuned to NDTV Profit.